It's a beautiful sunny day. How are you? Just got up. Oh, good. Yeah, creepy though, right? Ended on a creepy cliffhanger. That's good. Creepy cliffhanger. Good morning, Avery. I know. You want to say good morning to everybody? Go ahead. Say good morning. Okay. Yes, she is. She's almost 2 months old. Not quite. Actually, she's 7 weeks old today, now that I think of it. She is 7 weeks old today. That's right. 7 weeks on the nose. That is slightly creepy. Yeah, they said good morning back to you. Yeah. I know, she's such a big girl today. She's the biggest she's ever been. Biggest she's ever been. Are you the biggest you've ever been today? I think you are. Yeah. Did everyone have a rip-roaring time last night? Good morning, Isabella. What do you think's going on here? What's there? It's because of the cowlicks that run in our family. Yeah. A fox snuck into the hen house. Hey. Yes, we had lots of fun, Amanda. It was lots of fun. Happy 7 weeks. Isabella said happy birthday. Yeah. Well, you don't even know what a birthday is, do you? No. Does anyone else think it's weird that we celebrate first birthdays a year after their first birthday? She's very asleep, Bridget. Yes, very asleep. Yes. BB sleepy. Mommy is also sleepy, but Mommy is not asleep. Mommy is awake and sleepy. Because, like, the day they're born is technically their birthday, and then we don't celebrate that until a year later. We call that their first birthday. That's weird. Yeah. Oh, really? What else? What else do you have to say? What else do you have to say? Yeah, something like that. Right, Isabella? Yeah, exactly, Sloth. That's right. My brother likes to call them cycles around the sun, and they are exactly that. He's right. He's right. So, I don't know. I was just thinking about that. Is anyone doing anything fun today? Look how beautiful and sunny it is today. I was originally thinking, because we've been having some not as nice weather, and she's got a little bit, like, a little stuffy nose from it. I was thinking of not taking her to the farmer's market today, but then I came out here and it's so warm and sunny out. I'm like, it would probably actually be good to take her out to it, but I'll check and see if it's cold and windy first. Because I was just going to go by myself and leave her with, you had bad storms yesterday. Yeah, a lot of people did. But it's so sunny today. Did you put do you froth the milk and then pour it into the coffee? I do, yes. We're just dancing until mommy gets coffee. Oh. Yeah. Sleepy, sleepy girl. Sleepy, sleepy girl. Mommy's also a sleepy girl. Ooh, a snack. How about a cheese stick first? One of my favorite snacks. And then something in addition to that. But first, a cheese stick. Do you guys even have cheese sticks there? You have to, right? How long does she sleep for at night? Do you mean through the whole night or in one stretch? Because right now she's sleeping in 3 to 4 hour stretches, which is awesome. But she did have a stuffy nose last night. We did pretty good, Anya. How did you do? Oh, cashews. Yes, those are yummy. Cashews, cheese, and an apple. That's what I vote for. Somehow, mommy's tripod got moved way over here. So we're gonna go get it. You just made one of my slimes. That's exciting. What slime did you make? Okay, we sat down. What kind of apples do you like? Oh, I like almost all apples, to be honest. The only ones I don't like are Red Delicious, which is funny, and it's only funny because Red Delicious were my grandmother's favorite apples, and she ate one every single day. Oh, Isabella, that's really important to know. Do you follow any of the accounts of people who like are dealing with that also? You might find some solace and courage in some of the other accounts that are dealing with that. I've seen some. I imagine that that's extremely difficult. What are some of your comfort foods, Torin? Yeah. What are some of your comfort foods right now? Maybe we can help you find things that are similar. Why don't you tell us 1 or 2 comfort foods? Or like comfort textures, maybe even. Because it's often a textural issue, if I'm understanding it correctly. Is that right? I chose not to drink last night. That's okay. Oh, I feel okay. You know, I do love crisp with chips. Okay. Have you tried those Parmesan cheese crisps? Because that would get you a different type of nutrient, but is still crispy. You know what I'm saying? You know, they make those Parmesan cheese into like little baked crisps, so you'd still be getting some dairy. They don't have any other ingredients in them. They're just baked cheese. It's a fear of making, I completely understand that fear. I would hate to throw up. Literally, I hate throwing up. So I completely understand what you're saying. Cheese crisps might be a good one. The lack of interest in many foods. Interesting. Have you tried making or getting fruit and vegetables to be crispy enough to be of interest? Ooh, yeah, the nausea would not be cute. Do you have a very specific allergy to something? You do like fruits and veggies. That's good. That's really good, because you know that can keep you going. No, it's not cute. It is not cute. Because like if you like crispy things, you know, there's a lot you can do with that. I'm trying to think, you know, different yummy things. How are you with breads and stuff? That usually settles people's stomach, unless they have celiac, of course. But like, if you don't have celiac, bread things usually kind of settle your stomach. You do like that. So that might be a good snack. If you haven't eaten anything today, something to give you something like a base in your stomach, you know? Maybe like some bread and butter and jam. Yeah, Torin's great. I completely agree with Roxy. Torin is such a great, you don't see a lot of people that age talking about it and dealing with it, and they do a great job. That's one of the ones that I've seen dealing with it. How do you feel about nuts? Nuts are really high in protein, Isabella, and they're not the same kind of crunchy as crisps. Yeah, I know, they're so good. Parmesan crisps, they are so delicious. Yeah, of course, Isabella, no problem at all. What time is it for you? I believe it is probably like 8. Oh, I can see the time now. Oh, it's 8:44. Oh, is that a part of the update? Oh, you just said that. You literally just said that, Isabella. I'm so sorry. I promise it's not that I wasn't paying attention. I was paying attention, but I have not finished my coffee. You know how I am when I haven't had my whole coffee. I'm only like a quarter of a brain. Let's be real. Sometimes, some days I never even get past the halfway brain point. Today we might get lucky. Who knows? I gotta tell you guys before we start, you know how we were talking about how this book might give us nightmares? The book's not giving me nightmares, so that's not where I'm going with it. Hey, the rest of our night was really lovely. Thank you so much for asking. We had pizza and wine and you know, baby. And we watched White Lotus, actually. Hey, Gigi. But what I was gonna say was, I wish I could know how long I was going to continue to have nightmares about the car accident, you know? Like, I know she's fine intrinsically, but like, all I can see in my head is standing on the side of the road with the baby in my arms. This is the Lenny Lamb, Autumn. It's a Lenny Lamb ring sling. Love it. Absolutely love it. My husband even wears it with her. Yeah. He actually wears all 3 of the wraps that I have with, or carriers that I have for her. 2 of them are wraps, one of them is structured. He'll wear any of them. But like, when I close my eyes, I see myself standing on the side of the road trying to wake her up after the car accident. And I don't know how long it's gonna take to get over that, but it's like, it's driving me nuts and it's causing me to lose a lot of sleep. We have the, our structured carrier is Lily Baby. Knowing she's fine doesn't stop it's crazy, right? Yeah, I know it. The only problem is our car's not fixed yet, right? So like, we're not supposed to drive right now anyway, which is a bummer, right? So that's because like, what am I supposed to do? I have to leave the car there until they take pictures of it, or here rather, but like the adjuster has to come and take pictures for insurance. So I can't like just go for a drive, you know? Will they get you a loaner? I don't know yet. They were supposed to call us back yesterday and they didn't, so I called them too. Yeah, it's crazy, right, Gigi? And like, she's fine, right? I know, I'm just saying, yes, I should and I will. It didn't happen yesterday, it happened the day before yesterday, Autumn. So like, they were supposed to call us yesterday, Liz, and then they didn't. So at 5 o'clock yesterday before the live, I called and I left them a message and I was like, hey, we were supposed to hear from you by end of business today, what's going on? And they never called me back. So I'm gonna call the insurance people again today and be like, hey, not trying to be rude, but like, you said end of business Friday and it's Saturday. So like, what's going on? We need to be able to use our car, you know? It's not like I'm like asking for flowers or something. I'm asking for my car to be fixed. But anyway, so I guess what I'm saying is I would sleep better if I didn't close my eyes and see me on the side of the road trying to shake her awake. Not shake, that's the wrong term. Don't shake a baby. But like, I was like rocking her and trying to tickle her feet and trying to tickle her belly and like blowing bubbles on her cheeks and stuff, trying to wake her up, you know? Because she slept through the whole thing, but it was scary for me because I wanted to know that she was awake and okay, but she was so sleepy, you know? It's just crazy. It was the scariest feeling I've ever felt in my life. I was like sobbing on the side of the road. I got a filter? Really? Oh my gosh. Yeah, don't shake babies. That's not what I meant. But like, I was going like this, you know, like one of these motions where you like go like this, like wake up, wake up, wake up kind of thing. I would never, obviously, you know that, but I did tickle her feet and I did blow bubbles on her cheeks and on her belly to try to get her to do stuff. You scared mommy? No, that's not true. I shouldn't say that. You didn't scare mommy. The old lady scared mommy. I'm just gonna say this. I think that once you're past the age of 75, you should be required to retake the driving part of the test because you might be fine. Let's look at my mom as an example. My mom is 78 years old. My mom's actually a phenomenal
driver. Oh, it's terrible, Roxy. When your brain goes crazy. I know, it's wild. None of it happened. I have to just remind myself that. So, like, my mom is 78 years old and she is a rock star driver, literally. I don't ever get nervous when I'm in the car with you. You know, sometimes you're in the car and someone else is driving you and you can get nervous about it. Mom doesn't make me nervous. She is A+ okay. So if she took the driving test, they would drive around with her and they'd be like, yeah, killing it. Get back on that road. But it's important for us to have those tests in case someone does lose the ability to think clearly about their decision. Yeah. And maybe it's not her age that made her make this bad decision, but she is 81 years old, the woman who hit us. And she was coming out of nowhere. What happened to Lady? You know, if she got her license taken away. I don't think she will get her license taken away because it was such a minor accident, and I don't know. I don't think she'll get her license taken away. I genuinely don't know how that works, Avery. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know any of the answers on that. But, yeah. But, yes, we did the same, Amanda. That happened when I was 12 years old. When I was 12 years old, my grandmother, who was the single most amazing woman on this planet, you guys. Like, I loved my grandmother, still do, so much. So this is not against my grandma, but my grandmother was driving with me in the car when I was 12 years old, and she accidentally turned down a one-way street the wrong way, and instead of correcting and turning around, just kept going because she wasn't thinking clearly, right? And it scared me. I was only 12, right? And so I went home and I told my mom. She lived with us at the time, and my grandma, in her Alzheimer's stoop, was angry at me for the first time in her life, and that was very difficult. But I think we saved a lot of people by taking her keys away, you know what I mean? And like, I felt bad as a kid who did that to her, but you know, well, the difference, Sloth, is that my grandmother lived with us, so we were her emergency, you know. But like, you can't just go around driving when you're not with all your faculties, regardless of age, right? Regardless. If I didn't have my faculties at this age, I wouldn't drive either, you know? So, you know, it's just okay, can you sit up a little bit? Because you gotta be right here. That's how the carrier works. Okay, we're gonna read, sweet girl. Yes. Okay, we're gonna read. Let's read. We are on, I believe, chapter 4, but let's double check. Can you believe we're back to physical books? How exciting is that? The library provides. All right, we are on chapter 4. Let's get into it. Chapter 4. 5 easy flex pay installments, a man said, his voice full of excitement. Or just one-time payment of $136.95 gets you this beautiful, handcrafted Scarlett O'Hara collectible doll with her green velvet party gown, her hoop skirt, and this beautiful display case at no added cost. Louise's body went rigid. Well, that's an amazing deal, Michael, a woman cheered. These dolls are moving fast, so if you want this incredible offer for this one-time price, then you need to call now. Louise made herself stand up. She forced herself to walk to the door. She realized she still had Buffalo Jones in her arms, so she put him back on the bed and then peeked around the corner into the hall. Empty. It's on a timer. The programming has a bug. Just go out there and turn it off, she thought to herself. She drew her head up, pretending to be annoyed so that she didn't feel scared, and walked toward the living room fast, the TV getting louder with every step. She entered the room and she saw the Home Shopping Network playing for the blank-faced Mark and Louise dolls in her dad's easy chair. She snatched the remote off the chair and turned off the TV. The room full of dolls held its breath. She tossed the remote back onto the chair and stayed for a moment, making sure the TV did not come back on again. The Mark and Louise dolls looked snotty and bored, but of course she knew that she was projecting that onto them. Dolls couldn't change expressions. She should get going to Aunt Honey's. She turned and headed back to her bedroom. She grabbed Buffalo Jones, bringing him home for Poppy. She could show him to her when they FaceTimed, and I want you to see this because it has a cool touch of porcelain, but it's actually crafted from... Wait, sorry. I really want you to see this face because it has a cool touch of porcelain, but it's actually crafted from high-quality vinyl. Louise froze halfway down the hall, her shoulders hunched. She felt herself flush with irritation and embraced it so that she didn't feel fear wriggling underneath. She spun on the balls of her feet and marched back to the living room. The Mark and Louise dolls hadn't moved. They stared straight at the TV, and Louise snapped it off again with the remote and then knelt beside the television and yanked it out of the plug. In the sudden silence, the dolls felt restless. The ones pressing against the glass doors of the doll cabinet felt like they'd just stopped moving. One of the German dolly-faced dolls on the shelf looked like she'd frozen in the middle of lifting one arm. The clown on the back of the couch looked like he could barely hold in his giggles. They were patient. They were sly. They outnumbered her. She had to do something to show herself and them that she wasn't afraid, so she grabbed the giant Mark and Louise dolls by their arms and lugged them into the kitchen and then out to the garage. They were heavier than she expected. Really? Are you waking up? Is that your good morning sound? Yeah, that's your good morning sound. She does these sounds when she stretches. You would almost think that she was in pain. She just stretches and goes, and you're like, okay, honey. She found a clear space on one of the big plywood shelves that wrapped around two sides of the garage, and then she sat them on it. Her tiny thrill of victory disappeared as the Louise doll's hair began to quiver. The Mark doll's hair started to vibrate. His whole body shook until he tipped over onto one side. The air throbbed now, so large that the garage rattled, and Louise turned in the noise and saw through the slits of the window on the door to the front grille of a giant red truck coming right for her, stopping just inches before it crushed her Kia. And it sat there, rumbling. Run. It's not a projection, just run. She walked back through the house to the front door and turned the thumb lock and stepped outside to see a flatbed truck in their driveway with an enormous red dumpster on the top with a gutter clutter painted on the side. Behind it, a busted little Honda pulled up and parked on the edge of the grass, and men in white paper hazmat suits got out. The truck engine shut off with a metallic rattle, and in the sudden silence she heard a crow caw. A big man in street clothes swung down out of the cab and came toward her holding an aluminum clipboard in one hand. "A gutter clutter," he said. "Are you the homeowner?" Louise didn't exactly know how to answer this question. Her parents were the homeowners, but her parents were dead. I am. "Roland a gutter," he said, holding out his hand. Louise put her hand in his and gave it a squeeze. "I'm sorry," Louise said, pulling her hand away. "You're here for..." "Clearing out the property," Roland a gutter said. "I understand that what you got here is a classic hoarder type situation, but don't you panic. We've seen worse, you believe me. What we do is we start at one end of the dwelling and we move forward like a big broom, pushing everything out the door and right into the truck. End of the day, you'll see our taillights disappear and you won't believe it ever looked like such a dump." "This is my parents' house," Louise said. Roland seamlessly switched tactics. "Their lives probably got too big for the property," he said. "Seen it a million times. You'll want to do a walkthrough before we start to make sure you got everything valuable to get to their new place." "They died," Louise said. It was the first time that she'd said it to a stranger, and the words felt like rocks in her mouth. "The Lord takes the best of us first," Roland a gutter said. "You can depend on my boys to be as dainty as lambs. What we do, see, if we come across anything that looks like it has personal value, is we put it in a plastic bag and we leave it on the porch. You'd be amazed how many baby teeth we find. People don't always want them, but we still like to put them aside because technically they are still human remains." Louise looked at his boys. They didn't look dainty. 3 small Latin men with immaculate haircuts standing in the driveway around their banged up Honda, wearing white hazmat suits unzipped down to their waists, ghost arms dangling beside them. And one of them seemed to be in the middle of telling a really good story. Who hired you? Louise asked, and Roland flipped open his aluminum clipboard. Joyner, he read. Mr. Mark Joyner. No notification crew. Hey, so weird, right? Do you get the notifications that I post, or just not the ones directly from TikTok? I'm his sister, Louise said. Oh, yeah, he said to see you about the payment. No, there's been some confusion, Louise began. Uh-oh, Roland said. That's not good. Because we don't want everything our parents own pushed out the front door like a broom and all our baby teeth left in a plastic bag on the porch. Our parents just died 3 days ago, so if my brother told you to come here and throw everything away, there's been a misunderstanding, which was when Mark's truck pulled up. She and Roland watched him fuss with something in the passenger seat and then get out and slam his door and walk across the dead lawn toward them. I know, right? Crazy what Mark's doing up in here. I've been getting multiple. I know, it's crazy that it keeps sending notifications after the live ends, which is not super helpful. Yeah, of course, he said, see Louise for the payment. She's like, yeah, right, bro. Seeing Mark was always a shock to Louise because it never matched the eternal 16-year-old Mark that was inside her head. Yeah, everybody say hi. The Mark that was in front of her had a receding hairline, and his gut had gotten bigger since the last time she'd seen him. He wore a King Missile t-shirt that he'd had since high school, but it couldn't be the same one, even though it was dirty enough to be, and he wore a flannel that she thought he owned then too. The biggest difference from the Mark in her memory were his terrible tattoos. A lopsided cartoon anchor was on his left forearm, copied from their dad's brother, an infinity sign that ended in the writing of a quill on the inside of his right forearm because he claimed that he was a writer, even though there was no actual evidence for this. Foxy was also written in sparkly cursive on the inside of his left wrist for Amanda Fox, his high school sweetheart and former fiancé, when they'd gotten back together after a breakup. I was just going to say he got Foxy for Roxy, tattooed on his wrist. Roxy, he has a tattoo for you. How exciting is that? Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. It's funny because that's your nickname, but I don't think you would get it tattooed. Or maybe you would, who knows? Maybe a cute little fox tattoo is in order. He is not a good guy. You do not want this one. You do not want this one, Roxy. Trust me. Throw it back. Throw it back. You don't want it. He had a pair of slot machine cherries on the side of his neck, and the Japanese characters for, supposedly, you will succeed in everything you do, running the outside of his left calf. Beneath the King Messel t-shirt was a barcode from a pack of Marlboro Reds over his belly button from when he'd quit smoking, a phoenix at the base of his spine for when he'd gotten the job at the Charleston Grill, and Amanda was written on his right ankle from when he and Amanda Fox had gotten back together again. And a yin-yang symbol made of dolphins was on his chest after he'd gone swimming with dolphins in Key West. Why are you turning your head like you're a doll? Yeah. So this guy has a lot of tattoos that are meaningful to him, but that's it, right? Can you not turn your head like you're a dolly? I'll take one good guy, please. Yes, we'll find you one that's better than this one. This one's not so good. This one's not so good. Why are you turning your head like you're a porcelain doll that's haunted? Yeah? Why are you doing that, huh? What do you think? What do you think? You just want to hide your face from the sun? What are we doing here, kiddo? Yeah? Okay, let's try to sit up just a little bit. There you go. There. Here, do you want to come lay on Mommy's shoulder? Will that make you happy? Come here, you can come out a little bit since Mommy's sitting down. There you go. There you go. Yeah. Is that better? No, it's not better? Are you mad at it? You're mad at being awoken? You don't want to wake up, huh? You're like Daddy. You like to sleep in? Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
We're just rubbing our face in Mommy's shoulder, trying desperately to wake up, but we don't need to. She can keep sleeping. Louise felt petty, but the way she looked at her brother embarrassed her. Yeah, you don't have a brother to be embarrassed of. You're okay. Daylight's burning and there's a bunch of junk to dump, Mark told Roland, and then he gave her a glance. Hey, Louise, you made it. No hug, no handshake, no mention of their mom or dad. That junk is everything that Mom and Dad owned, Louise said. We need to go through the house before we throw everything away. Well, these guys are on the clock, Mark said. I mean, I'd love to pour over Dad's 1984 tax returns and laugh and cry and tell family stories, but some of us have jobs. If you want, we can smudge it out with some sage afterwards and get rid of all the bad vibes. Roland's workers in their white hazmat suits turned to watch. Louise hated the feeling that she was on stage, but Mark did take after their mom. He loved the drama. Mom's dolls might be worth something to a collector, Louise said, and the C of C probably wants Dad's research. We can't let some random guy throw it all in the trash. I'm actually a fully bonded removal specialist, Roland said. I'm going to put those dolls on eBay, Mark said, and Dad's last paper was on the economics of private railroads and the growth of South Carolina textile industry from 1931 to 1955. I think that the world can somehow stumble along without that information. Right now, I need Roland's guys here to help me get my lumber out of the backyard and into my truck. You think they can help me out with that? He asked Roland. It'll just take like 5 seconds. Are you hungry? Are you trying to tell me you're hungry, but you're not even awake? Mark, Louise said, putting all the love and patience she shared from childhood memories that she could muster into her voice. You cannot take everything that Mom and Dad ever made and all their work and family photos and scrapbooks and diaries and clothes and jewelry and puppets and dolls and just throw it in this guy's dumpster. They're pros, he said, turning to Roland in the gutter. You're not going to throw anything away that's valuable, are you? Anything we find that looks like it has financial, emotional, or legal value, we're going to leave it in a plastic bag on the porch, Roland in the gutter said. I told her that. But you might miss something, Louise said and turned to Mark, trying to feel like the adult. Okay, we're awake and we want a food. Okay. You were asleep. You can't act like I was ignoring you. You were sleeping the whole time. You were sleeping. You were sleeping. You can eat. Yes, yes, yes. You can eat. You can eat. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You can eat. You can eat. It's okay. It's okay. You can eat. You were sleeping. Don't act like I was ignoring you. You were being a sleepy, sleepy girl. Yeah. Yeah. Sleepy girl. Sleepy, sleepy. Where did Mommy put her bookmark? Let's get the art. There it is. There's the bookmark. But you might miss something, Louise said and turned to Mark, trying to feel like the adult in the situation. This is hard, Mark, but I'm here for 2 weeks. There's not really a hurry. Let's go through the house together, and then we can have these guys come back. Listen, Louise, Mark said. This house is Afghanistan. Once we go in there, we're never getting out. All right, bye, Naisa. See you later. How do we know what to throw away? We don't. We're too close to it. And honestly, it's fucking spooky. These guys are here. We have the deposit. They know how to box up all the dolls, so let's just get it done. A clean break. I know you're upset and overwhelmed, Louise started. Just because we shared a bathroom for 15 years doesn't mean you know anything about me. Mark cut her off. My yoga instructor knows more about me than you do. You do yoga? She said, a little thrown. I've got to practice, he said, off and on. The point is, I knew you would do this. I knew you'd show up and you would start telling everyone what to do. I'm not telling everyone what to do, Louise said, taking a breath. You're telling Roland not to go in the house, Mark said. You're telling me that we have to clean out the house together. He turned to Roland a gutter. She's like Flossie Bossy Pants, right? I don't know what that is, Roland said. It's one of my mom's puppets, Mark said, modeled after my sister.
He turned back to Louise. I'm handling this. Flossy Bossy Pants was not modeled after me, Louise said. According to Mom, it is. Mark said, look, I know you need to be in charge, but I've taken care of this. Mark, Louise said, let's slow down. We'll go to Aunt Honey's, okay? Everyone's out there, and we can talk about the funeral. Stop telling me how to deal with things, Mark said. Things are dealt with. I've dealt with them. I think that maybe I should get going, Roland a Gutter said. Give you folks some time to work this out. There's nothing to work out, Mark said. Everything's worked out. Let's just start filling those bags. Thank you for understanding, Louise said to Roland a Gutter. You've been 1,000 miles away, Mark said, while I've been here dealing with Mom and Dad being dead, so you don't get to suddenly parachute out of your nerd plane and start barking around orders. Mark, Louise barked and then immediately felt embarrassed. She took a breath and lowered her voice. We need to calm down and have a real conversation before we clean out the house. We need to talk about arranging their funeral and all that stuff. I already took care of the funeral, Mark said. We should have it on a Sunday so that everyone can come, Louise said. They're at Stores, right? I think Constant has a friend who works there. We're scattering their ashes at the beach on Tuesday, Mark said. No, we're not, Louise said. I already arranged it with Daniel, Mark said. Who's Daniel? Louise asked, feeling slow on the update. The funeral dude who ran Mom's credit card and is giving me the cremation remains on Monday at 4:30 so we can scatter them on the beach on Tuesday and a Hindi sunrise ritual based on the Ashti Visharanja. You are not doing that. He walked across the yard towards his big red F-150, not knowing what else to do. Louise followed. She felt full of helium. Her feet felt like they could barely touch the yellowed grass, and Mark opened the passenger door and took out a sheaf of green-edged forms. Louise floated to stop in front of him. I had to drive up to Columbia to get the death certificates early this a.m., Mark said, shaking the thick forms. 13 of them. Cost me $48, not including gas. But Daniel said you need them for pretty much anything anytime someone dies. I could either drive up there now or wait a week. He tried to upsell me on some fancy urn when I signed the cremation contract, but we're scattering them on the beach, so it's a freebie. Thanks. I learned that from Dad. It would make me so bad if I wrote it. I know, right, Avery? Louise looked at the contract with its receipt stapled to the front and the sheaf of death certificates, and she thought about her parents' bodies in a refrigerator somewhere and Mark signing a contract for them haggling over their urn, and all of a sudden the front yard felt very, very far away. You can tell Aunt Honey it's at Station 18 at 7:30 a.m. Tuesday if they want to come, he said. Get there early because, I want to go and catch the outgoing tide. You can't scatter Mom and Dad's ashes on the beach, Louise said, finding her voice finally. It's not legal, and I don't think they even wanted to be cremated. A, it is legal. I Googled it, Mark said. B, they didn't say what they wanted, so I had to decide what to do because I was here and you weren't, so I did it. I called you back twice, Louise said. After you hung up on me, Mark said. I'm upset too, but I'm not hanging up on people. You can't cremate people against their will, Louise said, and her temples gave a single blood-filled throb. She tried to hold her calm. She had so much calm just a moment ago. They also have burial plots. No, they don't, Mark said. Yeah, they do, Louise said. Mom took us to see them. More than once. She had this fixation on making sure that all of us wound up buried next to one another. Okay, Mark said. My bad. So we'll sell them. Or if you're going to be all uptight about it, we'll split up the ashes and you can bury your half and I'll scatter mine. These are our parents, Louise shouted. The first time she'd shouted as an adult, maybe ever. They're not a donut. You don't split them in half. Okay, folks, Roland a Gutter said behind them. Why don't we all just settle down and you stay out of this, Louise snapped, never taking her eyes off of Mark. You have no right to cremate Mom and Dad, and I'm not letting you dump them in the ocean. Dad didn't even like the beach. Mark shook the paperwork harder at her. I've got the death certificates, and you don't, he said. This is happening, Louise, so get on board or get out of my way. Give them to me, Louise said. Hell no, Mark said. I am the executor of their will, Louise said. You got any proof of that? Mark asked, and when she didn't answer, If you can't show me that in writing, then you can go get your own death certificates in Columbia. He stepped around her, addressing Roland Gutter. Let's get my wood out of the back before you all get started, he said. And Louise looked at the sheaf of paper in Mark's hands dangling by his side. You need them for pretty much anything, she thought, and then she snatched them out of his hands. Mark turned, his mouth opening in a perfect cartoon for a single second, and she felt a sense of triumph, and then she saw his expression go dark. She turned her back as Mark came for her, hunching over the paperwork. He snaked his arms around her body, grabbing at the forms. She ducked beneath his arms and tried to dodge around him, but he grabbed the paperwork with both hands and pulled. She pressed her thumbs and fingertips into the paper, holding on tight, feeling the contract begin to tear. Stop it, he panted breathlessly. You stop, she panted. She felt the paperwork sliding out of her grip. She felt the certificates beginning to rip. You're tearing it, she said. Over Mark's shoulder, one of Roland Gutter's guys had his phone up. Louise really hoped he wasn't filming them, but his phone moved, tracking the action. He was, indeed, filming them. I know, it's crazy, right? Mark was stronger than her. He was going to get the paperwork, and she'd be shut out, and he would go to the beach and dump their parents in the ocean. This wasn't what normal people did, and what she wanted was for him to just stop and take a breath, and them to do this together in a way that made sense, the way that she wanted to do it. Her knuckles cramped as the paper slid another inch out of her grasp, and she felt their fibers stretching. Using everything she had, Louise stepped forward and sucked all the moisture from inside of her mouth and spat into Mark's face. It sprayed out in front of her in a big white cloud, and Mark let go of the paperwork and swiped at his lips with both hands. Ugh. I know, right? You want more? You want more? Yeah. Well, you fell asleep, and you know, that's not a good way to drink. Falling asleep is not a good way to drink. But I can give you more if you want, if you're awake. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. It is absolutely crazy, Avery. I completely agree. Are you going to drink it or are you going to sleep? A little bit of both. A little bit of both. We're going to sleep drink. Sorry. Louise darted around Mark and raced for the front porch. Her foot slapped down on the concrete pad and she turned, holding the paperwork to her body. Mark started across the lawn, furious. And you know what? That's a wrap, Roland said, stopping Mark mid-stride. We don't get involved in any family squabbles. No, we are not having a family squabble, Mark said, turning on him. I've already got the deposit, Roland said, so you won't lose anything, but it will be next Tuesday before I can get back out to here. That should leave y'all plenty of time to work out your issues. We don't have any issues, Mark said, trying to keep his eyes on Louise at the same time. While someone was still there, Louise started across the grass to her car, keeping Roland Gutter between herself and Mark. How much to do it right now? Mark asked Roland, taking out his wallet. I'll pay whatever. Roland Gutter opened his mouth wide and pointed to a gray front tooth. You know how I got this dead tooth here? Getting in the middle of a family squabble. See you Tuesday, Louise called as she passed Roland Gutter and then sprinted for her car as Mark came after her. Louise yanked her keys out, putting the Kia between her and Mark, and she pressed the unlock button on the fob. Mark reached for the passenger door handle as Louise slid into the driver's side, slamming her door shut and mashing the lock button at the same time. The locks clunked shut around her as Mark began jiggling the passenger door handle. Louise couldn't help herself, so she leaned over to the passenger seat and looked out the window at Mark's red face and... This is actually pretty funny. Hold on, I need to see how long the next chapter is. I think the next chapter is going to be too long for us to read, but I do need to read you the beginning of the very next chapter. It says, I said suck it, Louise said. Yeah, that's funny, huh? Louise told her brother to suck it. You don't have a brother, but I do, so I know what that's like. I know what that's like. Yeah, Mommy knows. Well, this is a crazy book. So far, not, this chapter didn't have anything scary in it. I like the dynamic, though, that the authors presented between Mark and Louise.
What do you think? Do you like the dynamic between your food and your mouth? No, you don't? You're just gonna sleep on it? Yeah. It is funny. I like it. I like it. It makes it less on the scary front and more on the interesting front. You have to open your mouth for this to work, Sweet Pea. I know, it's crazy to believe, right? It's crazy to believe. I want my name off his arm. I also want your name off his arm, Roxy. I've never read anything remotely horror, and I like this. I also have never read anything horror, I don't think. I've read some suspense things like what's her name? That really famous author. Gosh, she's been writing since like the late 70s or early 80s. She's written like 1 million books. She's so famous, or like so popular. Like no one knows what she looks like, I don't think, but, or maybe some people do, but like not really. But like you see her books everywhere. What is her name? I read a book when I was in high school about a ballerina. You're Stephen King girly, yeah. I've never read any Stephen King books. What is her name? Clark? Something Clark? You guys know what I'm talking about, right? She writes like every genre. What is her name? Mary Higgins Clark. Thank you. That's correct. Yes. So Mary Higgins Clark, I've read her stuff, and she writes some suspense / true crime kind of stuff. And I read, starting when I was in high school, I started reading her stuff. And I read one of her books in high school that was like about the murder of like a ballerina or whatever. Yeah, who doesn't love her, right? Because she's been around like our whole lives, yeah? So that's the most suspense thing that I've read is her work. So, yeah. But this should be interesting. And hopefully by the time we finish this book, his next book will be available to us, because I really want to read Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. The Music Box. Yeah, it was something like that. Yes, I agree, Amanda. I think that's what it was called, because, I mean, it's literally been 20 years since I read it, because I was in high school. But, it was about a ballerina. Yeah. I had the hiccups. Or, I mean, honestly, Roxy, I have to tell you, I had Audible Unlimited for a long time until I got Libby and Hoopla, and now you can get most stuff. Like, I go and I look stuff up on Audible, and then I get it on Libby. Is that bad? Yeah. Yeah. My electricity's still out. Oh my gosh, electricity is still out. No good. Do you have a what do you call it? A portable charger? We might slime later today. I'm not sure, Josh. We might have slime later today, but this is book club. All right. Well, I am going to go to the farmer's market, whether with or without Secret Baby, I don't know yet, but I'm definitely going to the farmer's market. And then what else? And then maybe I'll see you guys later for slime time. I do have a slime related video to post right after this live, so at least that'll be up. You're asleep again? Oh, that's good. He gave you his portable charger. Okay, good. Okay, I'm glad to hear it. All right, well, I'll see you guys later, whether in video or live, but then we'll be back to reading on Monday. Have a great day, you guys. Do something fun.